Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you for sharing the film with us, and congratulations. It is such a fantastic film. I feel like you've, among other things, introduced the world to a new direct voice in directing, Chloe Domont. It's like a tour de force. From that first scene, it just grabs you by the throat and never lets go the whole way through. I just feel like it's so clear and sustained storytelling with that emotional through line and everything. So could you maybe go back to the beginning? How did you connect with Chloe, and what was the genesis of the project?
Sure. I'll start a little bit before, but when Ryan and I started our company, T Street, while we were doing Knives Out, our goal was like, can we start supporting first-time filmmakers and try to do with help first-time filmmakers the same thing that we've done with Ryan, and see if we can support them and get their first movie made, but also help them in the making of the movie, supporting them throughout that movie, and hopefully past that for their next movie or maybe their career with their trajectory. So we had this idea, and then I met Jonathan and Bright, two guys who runs MRC, and I pitched them the idea, and they were like, game, said let's do it. And then basically we had two things we were looking for. We're looking for people who are singular, and people that we believe they're good people. You have to have those two. If somebody is not a nice person, it's not for us. Life is too short. We're making those movies. We're not necessarily making any money making the movies. We're literally saying we're going to go make movies for not a lot of money with the intention to support filmmakers. And hopefully one of those, if we were going to make 10 movies, we were hoping that we're going to find one or two filmmakers that we can continue making movies with, hopefully past that movie. And the first person that when we started, also I'm going to cut back and said the way our company is developed, we don't have executives, we have a lot of producers with the intention that every filmmaker that comes as a producer attached to them from day one all the way until the movie comes out. So Chloe was the first person basically that came that universally everybody said, we love that person and we believe in her vision. Let's go for it. And that's it.
And how did she find you?
Her agent sent the script to MRC and to us.
So it was with the script. You met her with.
We met her with the script.
Play.
Right away, everybody read it. Then I read it, and said, yeah, it's really good. Let's talk to her. Everybody really believed in her, and then we started supporting.
And she was nice. She was
nice,
but
but you realize she knew her shit,
yeah.
right? Like you knew this person knows what she wants, which is always good. And we basically said, let's go do it.
Do you remember, like in your first meeting, what it was that struck you about her? Was it that she clearly knew her shit, or was it combination of the scripts?
I've been doing this for 30 years, so a lot of it is like I have a lot of meetings, and by now I believe, listen, you never know, but like you said, that person, they know their shit. You have no idea if the movie will turn out good or not, but you say, that person knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And 99%, you're in those meetings, and you know that person may be nice, may be talented, but probably not going to be a good filmmaker. So we had a hunch that, she can do it. She can pull it off. Again, you never know what's going to happen, but
Well, she has a lot of TV experience.
She had a lot of, she did
Suits
have a lot.
and Billions, kind of that high finance world that feels supports
and you can see the
this.
experience. She definitely,
Yeah.
she knew exactly what she wanted. And again, knew how to communicate it, which is a big part of directing.
I also want to ask you, obviously, about the casting here. I mean, the two leads are Alden and Phoebe are incredible. both strong performances, so compelling together, the chemistry between them, the back and forth throughout the film. And I'm just curious, can you talk about how, were they sort of her idea from the beginning, or was there a long casting process?
Yeah, it was a long casting process, but there were no other ideas from the beginning. You just, again, as you start casting, you realize you meet different actors, and then some, you don't have the money to make, you didn't have the money to make the movie, you were not ready, you were in the middle of COVID. Some actors, took other gigs. It's a long process, but, Alden was like the first one, and she was like, this is the guy. He's so smart, he's so confident, he's gonna be able to play an insecure person. And then Phoebe, somebody recommended her watching Bridgerton, and she did, and saying, this is the person I want, and she met Phoebe, and that was it.
And obviously, I'm sure they had a chemistry read together, or
yeah, they
spent
got
time
together, they spent time together,
Yeah.
but we were also trying to go make the movie within a certain window.
Uh-huh.
We were in Belgrade shooting Glass Onion, and since we had limited budget, I said we should shoot the movie here because New York is way too expensive. So come here, shoot the movie here. You're going to be able to build everything that you need on a set. It will give you more flexibility. You can get more days. So
And when were you filming? When was production?
I think production was January last year. Yeah, January last year, I think.
Shooting almost all of it in
All of
Serbia.
it we shot.
Wow.
And again, I was not there. It's our producers who, our producers in the company, Ben Leclerc and Leo, who were there, and they shot 27 days in Belgrade and 2 days in New York.
2 days in New York.
Yeah,
Incredible.
All the exteriors, a lot of the exteriors.
I mean, it's a very interior movie, obviously, like by not cheating, but right, it all takes place in those offices and apartments and restaurants. It's like their lives are indoors.
That's why the movie is so claustrophobic. That's why it's so much better and gives you more flexibility if you can build it as opposed to be an existing location. And you can't afford building on a lower budget movie in New York City or anywhere in the States. So that's why going
Serbia.
to East Europe. That's why going to East Europe.
Everyone's on their phone going, Serbia
yeah.
locations.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know it filmed there when I first saw the film, and it feels like such a New York story, right? I mean,
I think as producers, filmmakers, and as things become more and more expensive, you just have to figure out how you make things for less money in order to go and make them.
Yeah. So I first met Ram, it wasn't 30 years ago, but it was a while ago, and Ram was one of the lead mentors in our producing lab back over 15 years, 10, 15 years ago.
I would say probably, at least 15 years ago.
Yeah. And I remember, Ram, you told the story of how you made, I want to ask you, this is leading to a question about your approach to producing. You told the story of how you came to produce Rian Johnson's first film, Brick, where he'd been out shopping that around and trying to get it set up in different ways, and it's just, everybody liked the script, but it wasn't getting the money in place, and then you came on, and you succeeded in getting the financing and getting it made. And I just remember when you told the story of how you did that, it really kind of defined your approach to producing.
Basically, the short version of it is Ryan he finished USC and he'd been trying to make the movie for about 7 years, but he was going in the typical way, trying to attach some name talent, trying to make the movie anywhere between $1 million to $3 million. And when I read the script and I met him, I said to him, you're doing it the wrong way. You should make the movie for a few $100,000 because this movie is too ambitious and no one will let you make the movie that you want to make. If you make the movie for very little, people won't care. You can take risks, and if you pull it off, then great. And if you didn't pull it off, then no one really lost a lot of money. So everyone will leave you alone. That was one side. And the other thing was that I said, you want to be able to control the destiny of your movie. You want to know where this movie plays. So the more money you're going to do it, the riskier it's going to be. So whoever is investing in the movie would want to make sure they make their money back. So at that time, I said, if you're going to make the movie for $1 million or $2 million, most likely this movie is going to go straight to video. If you're going to make it for a few $100,000, you can go and take the risk and see if you can put it in the movie theaters in case the movie didn't really turn out amazing. We went and made the movie, raised money through Ryan's family for $330,000, and premiered it in Sundance, and the rest is history, basically.
And does that...
It's the same. We do the same thing
You
until
do the
today.
same thing now.
20 years later,
Right.
It's the same approach. It's like how to make sure we make movies where we have control of the making of the movies and control of what happened to the movies in terms of distribution or et cetera.
So Fair Play also sold out of after Sundance, right? And I'm curious, obviously you've made a lot of films like Knives Out and Glass Onion and the Star Wars film with Ryan, where those had distribution in place before. But to be back doing a film where you're selling it out of a festival, has your approach to that changed at all?
It's not. I mean, in fact, when we were making the movie and even when we were going to Sundance, we've used the same approach that we've used with Brick. I think a lot of producers and filmmakers and agents make the mistake where they have a movie in a festival, they want to overhype the movie, they want to make sure the movie is in the top 10 list of the filmmakers so everybody will know about it. And our approach has been the same thing. Don't talk about the movie. Let's make sure it's under the radar. Make sure that Chloe is not in any top 10 list new filmmakers. Make sure nobody talks about the movie in Variety or hot sales. Just go under the radar. Our job is to make sure that the people who needs to be in the room will be in the room.
But this is very unique. Nobody does this. I remember you talking about, I mean, that is a very counterintuitive approach for so many people, right? Everybody wants to get to be the buzzy title coming into or out of the festival.
So I think if you believe you've got the goods, you have to be confident and underplay. Because the moment you're overhyping something, you're setting the buyers and whatever to be disappointed. So if you go with no buzz, nobody talks about the movie, and you think you have the movie, if the movie plays, it happens in an organic way. And if it happens in an organic way, it's the best. That's it. It's very simple.
That's great. I hope people are taking notes. Yeah. Anti-buzz.
Right, but it's whether you have distribution or not. Even like, give you an example, we went with American Fiction to Toronto, and no one talked about the movie. It appeared in no lists. It was zero buzz about the movie. And we knew the movie plays, we knew the movie works. We had no idea what's going to happen, but it, again, like no one talked about the movie. I think coming out of Toronto, it was probably the movie that people talked about because it happened in an organic way.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I have another question back on Fair Play, which is, a lot of people I've read in the press, people talk about this as like, it's hearkening back to the like erotic thrillers of the 90s, which I can definitely see, but it also feels completely fresh and contemporary, especially in terms of the gender politics and the role that Phoebe plays and the way, she grapples with power and the vulnerable male ego and all of that. But I'm just curious, when you first read the script, were you consciously thinking of it as a throwback to those 90s films, or what was most appealing in that genre aspect?
You were not thinking about it. You say, okay, this movie, it's a thriller, it's a drama, it could be erotic thriller, it could be all of those things. If she pulls it off, we knew it's going to be a movie that people will talk about, and people will argue in the parking lot. And as she made the movie, and we start, we have a screening room in the office, and we kind of do screenings every week or whatever, editorial, and kind of, you knew, like even just people in the office watching it were arguing, right? Like some people were taking female side, some male side. People were just talking. You realized the movie is what it was. She made the movie that she said to make, and it will, again, I had no idea how the movie will play as it did in Sundance, and the reaction will be what they were, but you knew the movie works, and it was raising conversation, and it was intense, and on that side, she delivered. She did what she said to do.
Yeah. You've talked about this a bit already tonight, but you and Ryan have this long relationship, producer-director, and now producing together. And I'm intrigued now that you're working with new filmmakers like Chloe, is the hope that will turn into a long-term creative partnership with T Street, or with you, or with the producers at T Street?
So the hope is always like, if things happen, happens in an organic way. If she has a great experience, and if we have great experience with her, and we all want to continue working together, then we'll continue working together. But I think what we've added here is that we have in-house producers that now, in the case of Chloe, she worked 24/7 with Ben Leclerc and Leo. Leo produced. They were the two producers. They were there 24/7. And the goal is that when she makes her next movie, she knows. They know each other so well. They know how she likes to work. She knows she can trust them. She knows we can be there for the bigger things, again, whether it's casting or money or distribution or whatever else. But she's got Leo and Ben there for 24/7. And that's huge. And that's basically the intention. Mm-hmm. So if filmmakers and producers get along, whether they do it with us or without us, whatever happens, I just want them to do well. So, but sure looks like we're going to continue working with Chloe on the next movie.
That's great.
But part of the reason why we set it up like this is because I realize many times filmmakers go and they have producers, and producers have multiple movies, and they're not necessarily there on the set, and they come in and out, and they have other projects. Or if they are making a movie with a bigger production company, then there's a person there who's the head of development, who's involved, but then it's a different person when the filmmaker goes and makes the movie. I wanted to make sure the filmmaker get, from the first day to the last day, person who is dedicated to them, and then if they have a good experience, they can continue grow together, hopefully. And
so no executives,
there's
but
no
producers.
executive. We don't have executives in the company. It's everybody's producers.
This is amazing. No buzz, no executives, minimal budget.
But
the key, obviously, is filmmakers who can deliver, right? I mean, you're working
again,
with
you never
talented.
know. But the whole idea is to take risks, right? Like, if you're making those movies, the whole thing is like, take a swing, right? That's the whole approach. Take a swing. You want to make, you say, 99% of the time it's not going to work out. But for the 1% that it works out, I want to make sure that there is an upside. And upside is upside on making something special. And if you make something special, then there is also financial upside for everyone that's involved in the movie. And also potentially career-wise, right? Chloe's next movie, I'm sure, is going to be bigger, and she's going to do well. She's got a career now. So to me, that's exciting. We're interested in making movies that, if they work, actually have commerciality with it. Success, accessible for people, not stay very small.
Mm-hmm. To me, the most exciting aspect of independent film is discovery, when you discover a new filmmaker, a new voice, where some just comes out of nowhere, and you're like, you see their first film. And I remember very much having that experience with Brick, right? That was a seminal film. I remember seeing that and like, who is Ryan Johnson, the voice, everything he was trying, the language, it was like so fresh. And to see what you guys have made together, the way that producer-director relationship, I find it really inspiring. And a lot of times you don't see it, right? The director oftentimes you see the director take off and the producer may or may not follow them or continue to work.
I think a lot of people undervalue the role of a producer. So that's one. Second of all, it really depends on the human beings. So I think Ryan and I really, it was all about the work. It's not about ego. It's how can we make the best work? And how can I support Ryan in whatever, from a movie to the entire career to life, everything. So I hope our goal is we've been doing it, Ryan and I have been doing it for 20 years. So the goal is if we can help support filmmakers and producers, and we kind of learned a lot in those 20 years, we can save and help other filmmakers and producers.
Mm-hmm.
There's not, like you said, there is nothing more exciting than discover and support a new filmmaker, new voices, and a new filmmaker and new producers.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One more question on Fair Play. I love the music throughout, and maybe there's more a question for Chloe, who's not here, but the musical choices, there's like, there wasn't a ton of music, but every time it came in, it really served the story. And there were these kind of vintage soul tracks that bookend the film that are really evocative. And
it's Chloe. It's Chloe. It's really like from the first time I saw her first cut, it's very similar to what the movie ended up being. Her temp and the finished version was very close. And when I read the script, clearly I had no idea what it's going to be. When I saw the first cut, I said, "Oh, music helps," and the sound design. She had complete vision of what this needs to be. Because again, usually you see it from how the filmmaker temp the movie in the first cut, and that was there from the first time, and it was like, okay, the person knows what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about the how great first-time directors are in that sense of discovery, but as a producer, I'm sure it's also challenging. Whether the first-time director is a genius or not, it's hard making movies. It's hard making movies without a ton of money, and things can go awry. So I'm curious, on this film, shooting in Serbia, were there any specific production challenges? I guess by the time you were shooting, COVID was pretty under control.
No. We're still in definitely COVID land.
You were still in COVID land. I
But
mean, what were the biggest production?
The day we were supposed to start shooting, Alden had COVID, I think, so we had to shut down for a week. But in a way, that was good because then you didn't need to worry about him anymore for the next 6 weeks. So. Listen, you always have challenges because you have limited amount of money no matter what.
Right.
Whether you have 200 million or you have a few millions, you always have challenges. So, money, the limitation of money brings, okay, you always want more and you can't afford it and you have to keep pushing. You want an extra day, you want an extra. But ultimately, nothing that's not really that's different than any other movie that probably everyone is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't remember, but again, like I said, I'm not on the set. This is Leo and Ben.
Right.
They are there. I'm just there to support whatever they need. If they need something, I say, try this, try that, help. But it's their gig, and I'm glad it doesn't have to be me on the ground 24/7. I've got my glass onion to worry about.
Right.
They need to worry about this. Yeah.
One other question on the film. The cinematography was gorgeous, and I'm not familiar with that cinematographer.
It's a Dutch DP that Chloe saw one of his movies and really loved it, and then reached out, and they realized they were in sync, and I was not familiar with him, and he delivered. He delivered big time, and I assume he's going to be shooting our next movie. So it's the
Yeah.
same.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
No, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. He did an amazing job.
Yeah. There's a lot of kind of low lit scenes or right in dim interiors, but they don't read as dim. It's gorgeous,
Yeah,
and
it's gorgeous.
the skin tones, everything. It's really
Yeah, he's really talented. But again, the same thing. Like you're gonna have the same producers, probably gonna have the same DP, the same production designer. This is kind of the beautiful thing about first-time filmmakers. If they have great experience, they continue working with the same people.
So, Ram, I'm going to end with a corny question, which is just now you've been doing this for 30 years or so, and you've seen so many changes in the film industry. I'm curious if you have any words of wisdom to an emerging producer, someone starting out doing their first feature today, that you haven't, I think you convey your approach to producing very clearly, but anything you'd want to add to somebody just starting out?
Listen, it's always have been, and there will always be these challenging times, but I think challenging times create opportunities. So I think for the young producers, filmmakers, if you guys can figure out how to make good things for not a lot of money, you'll do very well, because the studios, the streamers, everybody who's distributing or buying things, they're going to have less money to buy or the same amount of money, but the bigger movies are going to become harder to do for the same money they used to. So whoever can be making special stuff for not a lot of money, I think they'll do well. That's it. To me, if you can figure out how to make it for less money than what the rest of the people are making their projects, and it's good stuff, there will be homes for it. I have no doubt. And again, times like this offer a lot of opportunities if you can think outside the box.
And work with nice people.
Life is too short to not to work. It's hard enough to make a movie, so it's
Ram, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.